So I recommend everyone with a car note to pay 4 times a month versus 1 time a month. And the reason being, interest is calculated every day, right, against that loan. So when you pay weekly, you're not allowing interest to accrue as much. You're not allowing interest to grow as much and as fast. And I'm going to show you the math on how that works, right? I'm going to show you the math on how interest is calculated against your loan every day and how you can beat it. All right. So for example, say you have a $50,000 car, right? You bought the car, it says $50,000, and they gave you a 6% interest rate against that car. The way you do the math is you go $50,000 times that, right? Multiply that by 6%, 0.06, and that will come up to $3,000. That tells you for $50,000, you will pay $3,000 in interest alone, right? Now, take that $3,000 and divide that by 12. That comes up to $250. That means every month of that year for $50,000, you would pay $250. You divide that by the number of days in the month. Let's just use 31 days. That come up to $8.06. So that means every day of the month, you'll be paying $8.06 to interest. That means $8 is leaving your pocket every day without you even thinking about it in interest. Okay, that's how the math works. That's how you can calculate how much interest you're paying on your loan on a daily, monthly, annual basis. That's why it's called an APR, annual, right? But you can break it down with math on a daily basis, and that's literally how they calculate it. That's why I say making payments 4 times a month versus 1 time a month is key, because the big number is what everything is calculated against. And when you make, say you got the $50,000 car loan and you make one payment a month, that means the rest of that month, that big number is just sitting there and math is getting calculated against it. And then that goes into your next car payment, right? Versus if you pay 4 times a month, that means naturally the interest rate gets smaller and smaller every time you make a payment, which means the bigger number gets smaller and you're paying less on interest. One more example, say you got an $80,000 car, right? You multiply that by your interest rate. Whatever your interest rate is, you multiply how much the car sticker is, multiply that by the interest rate, and that lets you know how much annually you'll be paying for interest. So $80,000 times, in this example, 6% or 0.06, you will pay $4,800 extra that year on interest. Multiply that by 12 to get the monthly. That comes up to $400, and you multiply that by the number of days in the month you're in. In this case, say 31 days. That's $12.90 that's leaving your pocket without you knowing in interest alone. Okay, so usually at the beginning of every loan, you pay more in interest than you do the principal. Why? Because interest is getting calculated against the big number. And then over time, as the big number gets smaller, interest gets smaller to the point where you're not paying too much in interest, you're paying more in principal. But why wait to the end of the loan to do that? Do that at the beginning of the loan. And the best way to do that is to pay more payments per month. And I recommend once a week. You multiply your card note, your payment, divide that by 4, and whatever that number is, make that payment towards your loan every week, right? And of course, you have to start on your due date. So if your due date is on the 4th, you count 7 days after the 4th, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So on the 11th, you make your next payment. And then 7 days after that, you make your next payment. 7 days after that, next payment, and your 7 days after that, next payment. By that time, the due date has already come around, and you've met the total amount, but you have beat interest because you made payments every week, and you're knocking out that big number so much faster. All right? It's your boy, J Miles, the Credit Chief. Follow me for more tips.